So I want to thank our reader and also Karen Drucker and Gary Lynn Floyd and our music team for the great music supporting the message today. This is the first talk in the month of December where the theme is happiness and joy. And today we're exploring the river of joy. Joy is not a place we get to. It's a river that flows through us when we allow it. The question is never, is joy available? The question truly is, am I allowing myself to enter the flow of joy? In the Bible, Nehemiah 8:10, we read, "The joy of the Lord is my strength." Joy isn't just emotional. It's a spiritual force that strengthens us. Now, that's indeed worth thinking about, isn't it? And while you're thinking about it, here's your question for the week. What is the one choice you might make today to be willing to allow joy to flow freely, to share joy so it multiplies, and to know everything is for you? One more time. What is the one choice you might make today to be willing to allow joy to flow freely, to share joy so it multiplies, and to know everything is for you? I wonder how many of you saw the message topic and smiled, because you know there's nothing that I love more than a wonderful quality of joy. You know, Jonathan Parker wrote, "Joy does not come from what is happening around you. It comes from what is happening within you." That is so true. Uncertainty is inevitable, but losing joy is optional. I believe there's a spiritual truth. Joy is not the absence of uncertainty, it's the presence of trust. In your own river of life, what happens when the water gets rough? We've been looking at lessons this past week in our journal that remind us to learn to trust in the flow of life. One was to trust the process. Another was to not allow our anxiety about results showing up in our own time frame to discourage us. And another one was to look at possibilities instead of problems. All of those lessons are great reminders to relax into that river of joy and to trust that joy is right where we are. When we're clinging to our own plans instead of flowing in the divine flow, that river of joy feels like whitewater rafting without a paddle. I'd much rather let go and allow the river to take me where I'm meant to be going. Now, doing that is not easy. A Course in Miracles gives us a radical practice. I will step back and let Him lead the way. I will step back and let Him lead the way. Letting Spirit lead is precisely how we stay in joy. So stop trying to predict the future. Just trust that God is your source. Even the Bible in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 tells us this: "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and He will make your paths straight." In river language, that translates to something like, "Let the current carry you." So what if you were to try this spiritual practice? I call it river visualization. Imagine stepping into a river of shimmering light and allow that light to wash away worry and fill you with joy. That's letting the current carry you. A Course in Miracles says, God's will for you is perfect happiness. It doesn't say partial happiness or occasional happiness. It says perfect happiness. And to embrace that, perhaps we might want to try this spiritual practice, which I call joy mapping. Imagine drawing your own river of joy. Where are the calm waters? Where are the rapids? Where does a river not flow easily or get stuck? And where does your river flow freely and feel most joyful? Something I've always noticed about joy is that it multiplies when I share it. We aren't meant to be spiritual hermits, unless maybe you're a monk, and even monks hang out together. Relationships deepen joy. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Life is shared. We cannot live alone, and we cannot find full joy alone." Think about Jesus, one of our master teachers. He surrounded himself with disciples. They were his companions. And Buddha said, "Joy shared is joy multiplied." I don't think truer words were ever spoken. Family and friends matter. They help us remember our goodness. They reflect back the joy that we sometimes forget. They lift us up when our river flows and feels like it's low. And they bring laughter into our lives. And laughter is basically that tiny spiritual miracle on which joy rides. I asked God for a sign that I should be more joyful. He sent me 3 toddlers, a puppy, and a spilled smoothie. What a reminder that people bring joy, sometimes loudly, like those toddlers, sometimes messily, like a puppy, but always beautifully. So here's another spiritual practice for you. I call it Community Joy Boost. Share one positive story with a friend or family member each day. Yeah, even share with that friend who thinks that Wi-Fi is a conspiracy, or with that family member whose political views are so diverse from you that you can't believe you came from the same gene pool. Sharing multiplies the joy. Or maybe this practice can bring you some joy. It's called the Joy Ripple Circle, and it's similar to the last one. Share one tiny joyful moment from your week with a friend or a group of friends, and then notice how you lift their spirits with your share. If people care about you, they love hearing about things that made you joyful. I know I say a lot that everything is in divine order. I should probably remind myself of that, and also that the universe is for me and wants my joy and happiness. Our founding father, Ernest Holmes, told us the universe is always for us. So when life feels like your river has a waterfall drop that you weren't expecting, maybe it's time to remember that that waterfall is also for you, that this too is in divine order. I suspect this spiritual practice could help in that event. I call it the Divine Order Affirmation. Say aloud each morning, "How is it everything so easily is unfolding for my highest good?" How is it everything so easily is unfolding for my highest good? This is the heart of the river of joy. Everything is for me, nothing is against me. Even the Bible in Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good. And A Course in Miracles adds this: every situation, properly perceived, becomes a lesson in love. Now, we have to take those words properly perceived because sometimes we see things from our own perspective and not from the higher perspective. And yet, when we affirm divine order, we step into joy not because life is perfect. I don't know anybody's life that's perfect, but because we trust the perfecting intelligence behind it. Katherine Economou told us this: life is a classroom of blessings disguised as experiences. I know sometimes I'm not so keen on that classroom that's filled with blessings in disguise. And I do know that I had a number of blessings in disguise in my life. Haven't you? I guess it's good to remember what Lao Tzu told us: let life unfold naturally. So here's a story about a blessing in disguise. Daniel loved walking along the river that was near his home, and it was his place of peace, a place where he could think and breathe and feel connected to something larger than himself. And he called it his river of joy because every time he visited it, his heart felt lighter. And then one spring, after a lot of days of heavy rain, he returned to find that parts of the riverbank that he was used to walking on had collapsed. The trail he walked was washed out and muddy and blocked with a lot of broken branches, and he felt disappointed, almost betrayed by the very place that brought him comfort. And he was thinking, this river is supposed to bring me joy, not ruin my morning. But something nudged him to follow the water downstream, even though it meant taking a different path. The detour took him further than he was used to walking, and around a bend he had never explored. There he discovered something quite unexpected. The floodwaters had carved out a brand new pool, a calm, glassy inlet tucked between smooth stones and bright green reeds. Sunlight danced across it, and when the breeze rippled the surface, it sparkled like liquid silver, and it was breathtaking. Daniel sat at the edge of this new pool and felt a rush of gratitude wash over him. He realized that if the riverbank hadn't collapsed, if the trail hadn't been blocked, he never would have found this hidden sanctuary. The river hadn't betrayed him, actually. It had simply redirected him to deep beauty. And as he gazed at the shimmering water, he whispered to himself that joy is always flowing, even when the current changes. And from that day on, whenever life shifted unexpectedly, Daniel remembered the river's message. Sometimes the detours are actually doorways. Sometimes the washouts reveal wonder. And sometimes the river of joy brings its greatest blessings disguised as disruption. I actually love this blessing that Daniel received. He received it because he trusted the flow of life, and he was willing to go with that flow and know that life is for us. Too many times in life, I think we miss the blessings because we're hanging on to the regret or the anger, and we lose the joy we might have found. I think Daniel's decision reminded me of another spiritual practice that's kind of an interesting one and quick. I call it the 30-second joy breath. Pause several times a day, maybe even once an hour, and take a 30-second joy breath. Here's what you do. Inhale, I receive joy. Exhale, I release fear, or worry, or anxiety, or anger, whatever happens to be coming up at the moment. Daniel's decision to continue his walk is a good reminder for us to see the blessings that come in disguise. This spiritual practice can help us with that. It's called the blessing shift. Take a challenging situation, rewrite it in your mind. This is for me because. And then share that with a friend to solidify the knowledge. So, in closing, let's remember joy is not something we chase, it's something we allow. The river of joy is always flowing. Our task is simply to step in, trust the current, share the journey with others, and affirm everything is for me. Everything is in divine order. As Ernest Holmes teaches, we should joyfully anticipate the good. So, no, joy is not circumstantial, it is foundational. No, it is your choice to enter that river of joy and stay there, especially when life is uncertain. And Katherine Economou beautifully reminds us joy is your birthright because you were born from joy. So let's each remember this week we were born from joy and make a decision to swim in that river of joy and let it wash joy all over us. So, in summary, in 2025, how might you learn to live in the river of joy? Well, allow joy to flow freely. Trust divine flow and timing, and let go and allow the current of life to carry you. That's kind of hard for me sometimes, but that's the key. Share joy to multiply it. Relationships lift us up when our river is low. So share your joy, which uplifts others and allows others to see your joy and know everything is for you. Life is a classroom of blessings, even though some of them are in disguise. So see the detours as doorways to greater joy. And remember, Daniel's washout revealed new wonder. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so willingly, energetically, and effortlessly am willing to allow joy to flow freely, share joy so it multiplies, and know everything is for me? And your challenge? Make a conscious choice each day to find some joy and share it. Determine one way you might shift a challenge into a blessing or a lesson. And commit to using some of the spiritual practices from today or some you make up so you can stay in that river of joy. Let's pray. I'd like to close with a blessing that helps us remember to live in the river of joy. Divine presence, infinite source of life. Being joy and our being born of joy. What I know is the river of joy flows freely through each of us, clearing what no longer serves us, softening what has grown rigid, and nourishing every place within us that's ready to rise, to heal, and to open up. So may each of us know that joy is not fragile, It's our birthright. Joy's the current of spirit moving through our lives, even when the waters feel uncertain or unfamiliar. So today we affirm that everything is unfolding in divine order. Every bend in the river, every stone on the path, every quiet pool of stillness, and every unexpected rapid is guiding us toward greater good. So may we trust the flow. May we listen to those whispers of grace. May we allow family and friends and all our companions on this journey to lift us and love us and remind us that laughter and connection and kindness are holy forms of joy. And may we walk forward from this moment with open hearts, willing spirits, the unshakable knowing that life is always, always for us. So may our minds be clear, our steps be steady, and our hearts overflow with the joy that comes from remembering exactly who we are. Expressions of the One, carried by the river of infinite love. Divine Spirit, what I know to be the truth is that each of us heard something today that's helping us to live with more gratitude and more joy and see opportunities to see things as lessons. I see each of us being the embodiment of love. So guide our steps with wisdom. Fill our days with gentleness and vision. And let us each be rooted in peace and lifted by love. Choosing today to live in divine alignment with the truth of our being, knowing that all we are and all that we might become are joyful creatures. I'm grateful for each person who chose to spend some time with us today. Grateful we can go forth with joy, courage, and an open heart, knowing we are guided to live in that river of joy. So it's with great gratitude, joy, bliss, and blessings that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth. The yes has already been said. It's already done. So I can say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And it's also with great gratitude that I appreciate all of the special donations that are being made to the center. I know it's the end of the year and it's time for people to think about end of year giving. And I hope that in that time you will remember the Center for Spiritual Living in Southeast Louisiana in your Christmas giving. Enjoy our offertory song.